Say hi to the marchers. Hi. Hi, everybody. We miss you in first hour. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with today some number 17, okay, which is against U.S. troops being placed under UN command. Okay, so we did taxes yesterday. 14, right? What do you have for 14? Huh?
Did you start talking about Medicare and then taxes?
Yeah, so that was the day I was gone. Medicare for All was the day I was gone. 13 is what? And TikTok. Good? Okay. All right. So we're on 17 against U.S. troops. You guys remember what UN is? The United Nations. Okay. And now remember, the United Nations is an international body. It's not an alliance. It's not a defensive alliance. It's not a military alliance. So the United Nations doesn't have a military. It has no backbone like that. Like NATO is a military alliance, right? We know about that. Okay, this is totally different. It is meant to try and keep the peace. All right, now, since they don't have their own troops, sometimes they borrow troops for what are called peacekeeping missions. They wear the powder, like that North Carolina powder blue uniform and helmet. It's like a light blue, powder blue. You guys, the Tar Heels of North Carolina, that blue, huh? Okay, beautiful. All right. So anyhow, guys, sometimes the U.S. will give troops for the UN to use in peacekeeping missions. Now, let me tell you about a couple of hot spots in the mid-90s on this planet. One was in a place called Kosovo, which is a area of Serbia. So you guys remember when you did the maps last year? Okay. At the bottom of Serbia is Kosovo. Now, what's interesting about Kosovo, guys, when they broke up Yugoslavia, you had a majority Christian population and a minority Muslim population. And they had this radical leader in Serbia named Slobodan Milosevic, and he wanted to get rid of the Muslims. So he started doing what was called ethnic cleansing. This is in the 1990s in Europe. How you do that, guys, is you separate the men and the women. You kill the men. You rape the women. And you start to cleanse that ethnicity from your nation. It's a form of genocide. So there were mass graves of men in Serbia. Okay, NATO got involved because we feared a spread of that conflict into the rest of Europe. Remember how World War I started down there? Powder keg. So we got involved, and we made Slobodan Milosevic a war criminal. Okay, we did not send troops in, but from the air, we made it very difficult for Milosevic to continue to do what he was doing. So eventually, we sent in peacekeepers because the families of the victims of this genocide will not forget what happened to them. You understand? And they're going to want revenge. So 30 years later, we're still dealing with this. 28 years later, we still have peacekeeping troops. Another place at this, roughly the same time, in a place called Rwanda. Have you guys ever heard of or seen the movie Hotel Rwanda? You know what happened there? It was a conflict between the Hutus and the Tutsis. Okay, and I believe it was the Hutus that massacred the Tutsis. Almost 1 million, over 900,000 guys. Now you're asking, okay, where's Rwanda? Okay, it's a small country here in Central Africa. Okay, and then Kosovo is in Southern Europe here. Okay, now, we got involved here. We did not get involved here. Why? It was not in the national security interest of the United States to get involved. 900,000 people were butchered, mostly by machete. What happened in Rwanda is, and this is 1990s, guys. It's crazy. Okay? So, guys, after that, we sent in UN peacekeepers to try and stop people from killing each other. Well, sometimes American troops are sent in as peacekeepers wearing the blue. Okay? Now, in some parts of the world, guys, the United States is loved. In some parts of the world, we're not so loved. Okay, so sometimes who's in charge of the UN peacekeeping forces? It could be a multinational force. So you could have American troops, you could have Brazilian troops, you could have Pakistani troops, Indian troops, from all over the world. Somebody's going to be put in command. And so the UN's going to try and use a commander that works good for that region. So it's not always going to be a U.S. commander, but you may have U.S. troops being placed under a foreign command. Are you following me? That's what this is all about. So in Europe, we had 2 American troops. Now, guys, when you sign up for the U.S. Armed Forces, when you join, you take an oath to defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. You take an oath to follow the orders of your commanding officers. Okay? Now, were you taking an oath to take orders from a commanding officer from another country? Well, there were 2 American soldiers that refused to take orders from a foreign command. They were court-martialed and kicked out of the military. Dishonorably discharged, which stays with you forever. Okay? Now, some people don't think this is a big deal. Look, if it makes sense for the foreign commander to be a Frenchman, then that makes sense, and you're going to follow the orders of this Frenchman. Or on principle, you say, look, U.S. troops should only be placed under U.S. command. Okay? Does it bother you? Or does it not? Okay? For these 2 guys, they said, no, we're not taking orders from a foreign command. It's not what I signed up for the U.S. military for. They face the consequences. So, that's an easy one. You either agree with that or you're like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. Okay? All right. Moving on. Now, this one will go a little bit long. Okay? Opposed to bailouts for auto and financial industries. All right, guys. Let me start with this. You guys were born in 2004 and 2005. This happened in 2008 and 2009. So you were little ones. And some of you may have seen a movie called The Big Short. Mr. Wager shows it in some of his classes. And you guys had wagers for anything besides keyboarding?
Right now.
What are you taking?
Business principle.
Yeah, he may show that to you. The Big Short. Okay. It's a really good movie, but it's about this financial crisis of 2008 and 2009 and the housing bubble. Have you heard of this? I mean, you guys know we were in a recession in 2009, 2010. They called it the Great Recession, and it was the housing bubble, in large part, that created the financial crisis was created by the housing bubble. So when we say housing bubble, what does that mean? Values of homes were going up. Demand for homes was going up, and when demand goes up, prices go up, and they get inflated. Yes? Everybody with me? Now, the reason why we had a housing bubble is because Congress, our Congress, was really encouraging people, this is under President Bush, encouraging people to buy homes. Now, most people can't save $100,000 and just pay cash for a house. So most Americans have to get a what? Okay, a mortgage. All right, so most mortgages when you buy a house are 30-year mortgages. If you're doing really well, you might be able to get a 15-year mortgage. You're going to have to pay a higher monthly, payment on that with a 15-year. You understand? Okay, so 30-year. Okay, and what you're looking for is a fixed rate. So a 30-year fixed today is about 6.5% interest. A year and a half ago, it was half of that. So what's happening in the housing market right now? It's slowing down. What's happening in property values right now? Going down. Okay. You guys ever go on Zillow and look up your address? I wonder how much our house is worth, right? Okay, so my dad and mom built their dream house on the bay in Florida, western exposure, so the sun goes down over the water. When you look out from my dad's house and their property, you see Alabama. They're on Florida, but they're seeing Alabama. So we're way out on the panhandle, okay? Beautiful property. Looked up a Zillow about 2 years ago. We were pushing like $560,000 for the property and the house. Looked it up recently. It's dropped to like 280. Like that. Okay. Now, so during the 2006-7 housing bubble, like guys, the fastest growing city in America was Las Vegas. They were throwing up $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses. You guys ever been up to Kansas City into the Blue Valley area? I know for soccer, you've probably gone up there. Guys, I drove through that neighborhood, Blue Valley, and I'm like, what in the hell do these people do for a living? These houses are freaking incredible. And there's thousands of them. You guys know what I'm talking about? Golly. And guys, it's a lot more expensive up there. Okay? So, anyhow, what's going on here is, look, when you go to get a mortgage, what is the bank going to ask you? How much money do you make? How long have you had your job? Have you had this job and you said, well, I make $50,000 a year. How long have you had the job? Well, 3 months. Not 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, they want to make sure that you're going to be able to pay this back. So they look at your credit score. Right? Any of you guys have a credit score yet? Probably not. Some may. Okay. Now, I don't want to encourage you guys to get a credit card, but I want to encourage you to get a credit card. Okay. You all have debit cards, right? That goes right to your bank. That's not credit. So you got to borrow money to earn credit. So when you get a credit card and you put something on that card, okay, buy something for $15. Okay. At the end of the month, pay off that $15. You are establishing credit. But don't use that credit card for anything more than that. Okay? Because people do this. I mean, I've had friends literally with, $30,000, $50,000 in credit card debt. So say all right, I'm going to do great Christmas shopping this year. I'm buying everybody something nice. You put $500 on your credit card. And you don't have $500 to pay it back. So they send you a bill, itemized. This is where you spend all your money. You owe $500. Your minimum payment this month is $20. You're like, sweet. Pay $20, 20% interest on your $500. So next bill, it didn't go down. That $500 is still $500. You just paid the interest that month. So it's still $500. Okay, and then you bought some more stuff. Now you have $700. And they say minimum payment, $25. Dude, do not get caught in that trap. You understand? It's not free money. All right? So, if you pay it off every month, okay? Guys, we took the trip to Cancun over Christmas, and we took the boyfriend and the girlfriend, 6 people. Holy crap, we got the credit card bill. My wife's like, can this be right? Because it had Christmas on there, too. okay, we're gonna have to move some money around to pay this off this month, because we pay it off every month. You understand? Okay, not paying interest on that. We stick to the credit card companies. The dumb people are the ones that make the credit cards money. We cost the credit cards money because we pay it off every month and we get the points. I mean, I got that venture card. So once we spend $20,000, dude, that's $2,000 towards the next bill. Cash back. Okay. Don't get into that trap, young people. Okay. But you do want to start to build credit. Okay. Now listen, here's the thing. Congress was putting pressure. What's the American dream? I talked about this in the other day, in my 5th hour yesterday. The American dream is for a lot of people owning a home. Right, Grace? Yeah. It's owning a home. And so, guys, Congress is encouraging the banks to give out loans to people, but a lot of people don't qualify for these loans. But the Congress is putting pressure on them, so they start giving out loans. Now, when they give you a loan for a risky person that's only had a job for 3 months, doesn't have very good credit, but Congress is putting pressure on us, we're going to do some predatory lending. We're going to give you a loan, but you're not getting this. You're going to get what's called a subprime mortgage, which means your mortgage rate is going to be higher because you're risky. So these are people that are maybe qualified for a loan, barely qualified for a loan, or barely not qualified for a loan, but we're going to give it to them anyways. So you're risky, so we're going to give you a higher mortgage rate. That makes sense, which means your monthly payment is going to be higher. Or you could get what's called a variable interest rate, which can do either. If interest rates go down, your monthly payment goes down. If interest rates go up, your monthly payment goes up. So let's say you get one of these mortgages and you're paying $700 a month on your mortgage. And then interest rates tick up. Next month, your mortgage bill changes. Mine stays the same because I have it fixed. For the whole term, stays the same forever for the 30 years. Okay? Next month, you get your mortgage bill, it's $800. Now you were just barely able to make that $700 mortgage payment. Now it's $800. You're going to skip to get by. You might have to put some on your credit card. Then interest rates go up again. Did I forget to mention? We're slipping into a recession, which means people are starting to lose their jobs. You just lost your job. How are you going to pay that mortgage? And when people with these subprime mortgages can't pay it, you got a problem. Now, here's the thing. Guys, there were so many mortgages being given out, like millions. And so what the mortgage companies did, these are lending institutions, they started packaging them. They would take 500 mortgages and bundle them, and then sell them on the stock market. And who was buying these mortgages? These are the 2 biggest banks in America. Okay? You could throw Wells Fargo in there. You could throw JP Morgan in there. Okay? They're all buying up these mortgage bundles because it's cash flow. Mr. Ebright's paying in his $900 every month. It's cash, a lot of cash flow with these mortgages. Okay? But inside these 500 mortgages, you have some good ones and you also have some bad ones. And the number of bad ones inside these bundles of mortgages is growing. And when the recession starts to slow down and people start to lose their jobs, or these variable interest rates, they can't pay their mortgages, what happens if you don't pay your mortgage? Do you go to jail? No, you don't go to jail. They foreclose on your house. The bank says you've got 2 weeks to vacate. Now, who owns the house? Goldman Sachs. Wonder how many houses they own now in this 500. it starts to grow. The bubble starts to burst. Housing values start to go down because of foreclosures. Okay? As I said, what was the fastest growing city in America? Las Vegas. Okay? So you got this sweet new job in Vegas. Okay? You're going to build this you can buy this brand new house. Okay? $400,000 house. Okay? Things are going well for you. Okay? Now, you're going to put a $50,000 down payment on this house. You're going to get a mortgage for $350,000. Brand new neighborhood, $400,000 houses. 10 people in your neighborhood of 100 foreclosed. So now you got 10 vacant houses in your neighborhood. Okay? The bank is stuck with these houses, these $400,000 houses. They're going to try and sell them, but they're not buying. Nobody's buying. So they drop the price. So what happens to the value of your $400,000 house when they drop the value of these houses in your neighborhood to $250K? What's your house value worth? Because when you go on Zillow, guys, you look up your house, what the value is, and then you look at the other houses in your neighborhood, they're all going to be roughly around the same amount. Now, mine's worth more because we built an addition on ours. My neighbor next door is worth more. They have a pool. You understand? But most of the houses are roughly the same. They look at what other houses are selling for in your neighborhood to tell you how much your house is worth. Now, you owe $350,000 on a house that's now valued at $250,000. That's called being upside down in your mortgage. Why would you pay on that? So a lot of people just left. I'm not paying a $350,000 mortgage on a $250,000 house. That's insane. So people left. They just packed their stuff and left. The bank now owns that house too. Freaking California, Florida, Nevada, bunch of states got really, Kansas didn't get too hard hit by this. Okay. But a lot of states did. Okay. And it affected everybody because these big banks were stuck with all these houses, these bad mortgages. The movie The Big Short is about two guys that saw this coming. And they did what's called selling short. They bet against the banks. And they made a lot of money. I forget how much they made, but these two guys made a lot of money. Because they saw it coming. They tried to warn people. People were like, it's fine, everything's good. It wasn't. So as Bush is leaving office, this is literally like the election was in November. This is happening right after the election because it was Obama versus McCain. Okay. And Obama won and Bush is leaving. He's got to be out by January 20th. Right. And so Obama's coming in and both of them are going on the TV and saying, this is a crisis. We've got a problem. They're trying to scare the crap out of us guys. Okay. Because they said these big banks, not just these, but others, they're going to go under. They're going under if we don't bail them out. And if these banks go under, then our big businesses in this country have nobody to borrow money from. So, government to the rescue. With whose money? Our money. Program called TARP, okay, which Troubled Assets Relief Program, troubled assets, okay, bunch of bad mortgages. They're going to bail out these banks, okay. Now, here's one thing that pisses me off about this. I'm going to tell you guys, the banks paid all this money back, okay, but I don't know if you've ever heard of this bank. Lehman Brothers, they no longer exist. Big bank. They were not bailed out. But these two were bailed out. Now, why were they bailed out and they weren't? Well, I want you to go back and look at how many people, former employees of Goldman Sachs, worked in the Obama administration. You put the government in charge of this, they get to pick the winners and losers with your money. Okay? The real power in this country used to be on Wall Street. The real power in this country today is in DC. So our big businesses, they have to go crawling on their hands and knees to politicians now. Okay? Because they have all the regulatory power. And they control all the regulations. And if you don't want those regulations to destroy your business, you got to go crawl to the politicians. It's called crony capitalism. Okay? And it sucks. Okay? Now, did we have to do this? I don't know what would have happened had we not bailed them out. But as I said, they did pay it back. Okay? So, the movie The Big Short really blames the banks for this. Okay? Here's the thing, guys. No matter how bad you want a house, never, and I mean never, get a subprime mortgage. You want a fixed mortgage. Okay? You don't, this is crazy. So if you were a person that got a subprime mortgage, that's on you. You shouldn't have done that. You need to read the fine print when you're talking about a lot of money like that. Okay? The banks were predatory. Why were the banks predatory? I believe one of the reasons was because Congress was putting pressure on them to give these loans. And with left no other choice, they said, okay, we'll give these loans, but they're going to be subprime. We're not giving fixed interest rate to risky borrowers. Okay? So it caused a big problem. Right now, we don't have a housing bubble. Okay? We do have a shortage of housing in this country, though. So values should be fine. I think we make it through 2023, guys. I think we're going to get into a small recession. Hopefully, it's not too bad. Recessions are bad because people lose their jobs. Okay? You're seeing major layoffs in the tech industry right now. Hopefully, this times out well for your generation, your group, because you guys have 4 years till you graduate from college. Hopefully, the economy is like rolling when you guys get out. Okay, I hope that's the case for my daughter. My son's got a job right now. Hopefully, when he finishes school, he'll be in good shape too. So, I graduated in '91, and we were in a recession. And I went to one of America's biggest cities with a college degree, bachelor's degree in business. I went to Atlanta, and I looked for work, and I could not find a job. Except sales. Okay. Recessions suck, which we're likely to see one. Okay. Stock market this week has not been good. We got a lot of earnings reports coming back in. Some of the big banks had rough earnings because of these interest rates. Okay. Fewer people are borrowing money because interest rates are high, and they're likely to go higher. Okay. So who sets these interest rates? You guys know? It's called the Federal Reserve. Okay, and the Federal Reserve chairman is a guy named Jerome Powell. Because inflation is so high, guys, they're trying to slow down the economy, right? You slow down the economy by raising interest rates. Fewer people borrow money, which means things slow down. When you lower interest rates, as they have been since 2009, they've been like tiny. Okay, people borrow money, businesses borrow money, everybody borrows money. It's cheap. If I can make 6% in the stock market and I can borrow money for 3%, why wouldn't I borrow money to invest in the stock market? Because that's risky, but you can do it. You know what I mean? If interest rates are really low, people are going to borrow money. Cheap. The economy's going to grow. Okay? So hopefully, by the time you guys get out of college, you get that good first job, interest rates drop, wages are good, and you guys will be able to buy a house. for a cheap 30-year interest rate. Okay? See what happens. Good? Now, before I'm done with this, let's talk about General Motors. General Motors was in trouble as well. Now, guys, United Airlines, Chrysler have been bankrupt before. They're still in business. Bankruptcy does not mean you're going out of business. Okay? It means the government's going to help you reorganize your debt. And you're going to pay a certain amount here, but you're not going to have to pay the full amount back. So as an individual, guys, you'd never want to go bankrupt because you'll never be able to borrow money again. Because when you go bankrupt, the government says, okay, you do not have to pay these people back. Or you only have to pay them back 20% of what you owe, something like that. They reorganize your debt. Okay? But nobody's going to lend you money ever again because they're like, you're just going to declare bankruptcy again. And I'm going to get shafted. Follow me? So last resort, bankruptcy. Okay? Remember, guys, you cannot go to jail for being in debt. Okay? So if you're in debt, you're in debt. Yeah, half this country, more than half this country is in debt. Okay? That's how we roll. Okay, so General Motors in trouble. They're going under. Obama's like, oh my gosh, 25,000 jobs are going to be lost. All those people that sell all the dealerships, right? Those people are going to lose their job. General Motors is going under. No, they're not. Yeah, they are. They're going under. They're going to go bankrupt, just like Chrysler did a few years ago. They'll be fine. No, they're not. We're gonna have to bail them out. With whose money? $50 billion. Okay? Now, what the government does here, they hadn't done this before. They're going to buy up a majority of the shares of General Motors with $50 billion. So the government is going to own 51% of GM stock. So now the government is in control of GM. So we can now call it Government Motors. Obama will fire the CEO of General Motors and handpick the new CEO of Government Motors. Okay? And then reorganize it, and they're going to tell the creditors, the people that General Motors owes money to, you're not going to get paid, you're going to get paid, you're not going to get paid, you're going to get paid. Our government is determining that now. And then the goal was to sell back that General Motors stock to the general public for a profit and get our $50 billion back that they took from the taxpayers. The taxpayers got shafted on this one. We lost $11 billion on that. Okay. Now, how do you feel about this? Is this the role of government? Remember when we go back to Hoover in the Great Depression? He said, or Secretary of Treasury Mellon said, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. If you can't survive General Motors, that's on you. If you're going to run your company into the ground, that's on you. We're not going to bail you out. But guys, if they stop making cars, will other car companies fill the marketplace with their cars? Yeah. Did Ford get a bailout? Or didn't get a bailout? Ford could have become a stronger, more powerful company and sold way more cars because General Motors went out of business. But no, you can't have that because we have a new lexicon in America. You are too big to what? General Motors is too big to what? Fail. So it tells our CEOs of major corporations, you're too big. You can't fail. You can run your company into the ground. We'll use the American taxpayer to bail you out. And so you can unfairly compete against your competitors with the help of the U.S. government. Is this the role of the U.S. government? Now, if we didn't do this, would the crap really hit the fan and we go into not a recession, but maybe a depression? I don't know. If these banks go under, can businesses borrow money from the government? And then just set up, lending institutions with the government, which we already have, which are Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. They lost billions. I don't know if we would have gone into depression. I don't know. They sure as hell scared the crap out of us, both Bush and Obama. When it's coming from both parties, you're kind of like, oh, well, I guess we should listen to them. I don't know. This GM stuff, come on. I know 25,000 people are going to lose their jobs, but guys, Ford is going to have to expand its operations. They're going to need auto workers. So some of those auto workers are going to wind up finding jobs. Some people are going to lose their jobs, guys. That's life. You work for a company that was mismanaged. That sucks. You got to go find another job. Life's not fair. Anybody tell you that? Good, because it's not. All right, you decide. All right, number 19, guys, is support a constitutional amendment defining marriage as one man, one woman. Okay, now listen, that ship has sailed. Okay, Supreme Court said that gay marriage is a constitutional right. The Congress in the last year just passed another the affirmation of this for not only same-sex couples but interracial couples. Okay, because back during Jim Crow, guys, in Virginia, if a black person and a white person fell in love and wanted to get married, they didn't let them. That's stupid. I think that's stupid. Okay. I got nothing against interracial marriage. Two people love one another. I got no issue with that. You got an issue with that? I got no problem with that. Now, some people might have a problem with the same sex stuff. Okay? That ship is sailed. The only way you're doing that is to pass a constitutional amendment. You know what it takes to pass a constitutional amendment? We only have had 17 since the Bill of Rights in 1791. We've only had 17. And one of them were repealed. So we really only had 60. So you got to have 2/3 of both houses of Congress. Not going to happen. And you got to have 38 states. 3/4 of the states. Not going to happen. Now, if you would have tried to pass a constitutional amendment defining man and a woman as married in 1968, you might have had a chance because nobody saw it coming. So nobody proposed it. Bam! Here it is. Okay? Dude, I think, have I told you this? Obama in 2008, when he ran for president, and when Hillary was running against him for the Democratic nomination, both of them were against gay marriage. That was 2008. Democrats. Okay? It changed really fast. You understand? A lot of people's opinion have changed on this. Even people of my generation, your parents' generation, have flipped on this. Even people of your grandparents' generation are like, you know, what's the big deal? So is it a big deal? Okay? So this is really like, this isn't going to mean anything. It's just how you think. Where you align ideologically. Okay? So you know what you think. You can answer that. Right? Now, let me talk about it. Okay? Listen, there are benefits that come with marriage. Okay? I can get my health insurance through my wife's job. She can get health insurance through my job because we're married. Yes? If one of us is in the ICU, okay, and they say only family members, so if you're a gay couple and you're just partners, you don't have a marriage, family members only. So like the most important person in their life wouldn't be able to go into the ICU, that sort of thing, right? Here's another one. Married filing jointly on taxes. Married couples filing jointly pay less than two people shacking up. You guys know what that means, shacking up? Yeah. Right. Shacking up. Okay. All right. Now, yeah, so there's benefits, guys, to marriage. Now, prior to the Supreme Court saying it, some states had what were called civil unions, so you could get the benefits of marriage without calling it marriage. I mean, so a lot of people, as we go through the 90s, in the early 2000s, like, yeah, I support civil unions. I'm against gay marriage. You know what I mean? Like, I understand what the benefits that people are missing out on, couples that love one another. And so, you know, but now civil unions they're moot. I mean, there's no reason for them. Because gay marriage is legal, okay, and protected. So, there you go, all right? We're gonna do Title 9, okay? I got like 6 minutes, okay? And I know I got some athletes in here, okay? Have you guys heard of Title 9? Okay, here we go. All right, we learn something new every day. Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title 9 of that act says that facilities for men and women's sports must be equal. So if we put baseball lights out at the baseball field, we got to put lights on the softball field. We build a fence on the softball field, we got to build a fence on the baseball field. Okay? The other part is scholarships for athletics, not for engineering, okay, but for athletics. So, equal number of scholarships for male and female athletes. Okay? This has been wonderful for women in this country. Okay? It gives them opportunities beyond high school. Okay? Where previously you didn't have that near as much as you have today. Okay? So, what you have to do, because there's that one sport that brings in more money than any other sport. And in fact, funds many of the other sports. And that sport is called college football. Now, any idea how many full ride scholarships a Division I football school like Alabama has? Full rides. They don't give out partial scholarships. Division I football at Alabama. You go to Alabama, you get a full ride. 80 full ride scholarships. Now this is wonderful. Because if you look at the rosters of a lot of these big schools, okay, they are like, this is an opportunity for kids. And a lot of these kids are like inner city kids, you know what I mean? Like they're getting an opportunity for an education. And now with NIL, they're getting an opportunity to make money for their families and so forth. Okay? The fact of the matter is most college sports lose money. In college? Track? Cross country or track or one? Probably track. Okay. How many people show up at the track meet? Now, if you're in Oregon, you get a pretty good crowd at the Oregon track meet, right? No, Oregon, right? They're really popular, right? But not many people show up. But you got to travel. We got to put that track team on a plane, and we got to travel across the country. That's expensive. So the track team's going to lose money, both for women and men. You understand? Soccer. Okay. Now you're going to Newman, right? How many people are going to show up at the games in Newman? You're going to lose money. Okay. Now Newman doesn't have football. Neither does Wichita State. So guys, those schools struggle. But at K-State, guys, even KU, football did good this year. They brought in a lot of revenue. That helps fund all the other things. But here's the problem. Take 80 male football scholarships. You've got to add female sports to even that number out or cut male sports. So, anybody here? You get an opportunity for a rowing scholarship yet, Autumn? You have? At K-State? You too? What the hell? Is there a men's rowing program? Maybe a club team, but there's no scholarships because of college football. You with me? So, wrestling. College wrestling is the biggest victim of Title IX. Coach Stovall, that used to be our wrestling coach here, good friend of mine. If you look at the state championships that we won in wrestling, most of those were under Coach Stovall. Did you ever meet Stovall as a little person? He's down at Jesuit in Houston now. He's a associate dean and head wrestling coach. Jesuit in Houston. Tuition there is like 20 grand a year. Big money. The first year he showed up to be the wrestling coach at Jesuit, the team had already had plans. They had tickets booked to go to a wrestling match in Europe. And they weren't good. They're good now. This Coach Stovall's there. Okay. Great cook, too. We love this guy. But anyhow, we miss him around here. Now, he was a Division I wrestler at LSU. His junior year, at the end of the season, they called everybody together and said, we need to have a meeting. They told him, we're shutting down the wrestling program to be Title IX compliant. Northern Iowa, which is in the Missouri Valley Conference, dropped baseball about 10 years ago to be compliant. Now, guys, this has been great for girls. And don't get me wrong, I have 2 kids. Both are college athletes. Okay? Baseball scholarships. Wichita State has 11.5 scholarships. Baseball. You have 36-man roster. Softball has 11.5. But they have pitchers that can do this all day. So you got to have 12 pitchers. Softball needs maybe 3. Okay. Is there a men's soccer program at K-State? Is there women's? So men are getting the shaft. Let's play football. You want a college scholarship? If you're a dude, football. If you're a girl, golf. Because there are hundreds of golf scholarships, female golf scholarships in this country that go unused every year. Like, you can't afford college, pick up a freaking golf club and say, I can play, coach. You'll get a scholarship. The most dominant athletic team in the world at the Summer and Winter Olympics is the women's Olympic team from the United States. We freaking dominate. Our women kick butt because of Title IX. Those opportunities have been provided for you guys. Awesome. Awesome. But it's come at the detriment of men. In a perfect world, you could take those 80 football scholarships and say, we're going to set these over here, and then we're going to have an equal number from them. But it's not a perfect world. And you have to say yes or no. Safe travels. Stop. Stop recording.